The air at the small-town airshow buzzed with excitement. Children ran with cotton candy, couples laughed under the summer sun, and at the center of it all stood Captain Daniel Hayes, a single dad, a war veteran, and the quiet man everyone knew but never really knew. He wasn't there to impress anyone. He was just volunteering, helping organize rides for kids, teaching basic safety drills, and keeping his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, smiling. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. That's when Sophie Carter arrived, a TV journalist with a bold laugh and a reputation for teasing anyone who took life too seriously. She was there to cover the airshow for her network, but when she met Daniel, her mischievous streak kicked in. She pointed at an old rescue helicopter on display and smirked. "Hey, Captain Hayes, fly this helicopter and I'll marry you." The crowd around them laughed. Even Daniel cracked a rare smile. What she didn't expect was for the engine to roar to life. As the blades began to spin, Sophie's laughter faded. Daniel wasn't joking. He moved with quiet confidence, every motion calm, practiced, and deliberate. "Wait, are you serious?" she shouted over the wind. Daniel didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the instrument panel, his hands steady, like he was back in Afghanistan, pulling a rescue under fire. You see, Daniel hadn't touched a helicopter in 7 years. After the mission that took his wife's life, a nurse aboard his medevac crew, he swore he'd never fly again. But something about Sophie's spark, and the laughter of his daughter nearby, reignited something in him. He looked up at Sophie and smiled softly. "You might want to buckle up, Miss Carter." The crowd gasped as the helicopter lifted off. It wasn't part of the show, but suddenly it became the show. Sophie gripped the seat, half terrified, half amazed. The helicopter hovered, smooth as silk. For Daniel, it was muscle memory. Every movement, every hum of the rotor felt like a heartbeat he'd forgotten he had. "I thought you said you'd never fly again," Sophie whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel replied, "Sometimes, we need a reason worth flying for." And for the first time since his wife's death, he smiled without pain. Daniel didn't just fly, he danced the helicopter through the sky. He drew a heart with the flight path, looping above the airfield. Down below, Lily waved with tears of joy, shouting, "Daddy's flying again!" Sophie looked at the little girl and then at Daniel, realizing this wasn't a joke anymore. It was a man reclaiming his purpose. When they landed, the crowd erupted in applause. Sophie could hardly speak. "Daniel, that was... You said you'd marry me if I flew it," he teased with a grin. She laughed through tears. "You're impossible." Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sophie found Daniel sitting by the helicopter with Lily asleep in his arms. "I didn't mean to make you face all that," she said softly. "You didn't make me," he replied. "You just reminded me I still could." Sophie sat beside him. "You know," she whispered, "maybe that joke wasn't such a bad idea after all." Daniel chuckled. "Careful, I take promises seriously." "Good," she said, smiling. "Because so do I." Months later, Daniel was back in the skies, teaching kids to fly, volunteering for rescue missions again, and smiling more than he ever had. Sophie stayed, not because of a joke, but because she saw in him what the world often overlooks, a quiet strength, a heart that heals others even when it's been broken itself. Their love wasn't about grand gestures, it was about second chances. Because sometimes it takes one impossible dare to make someone believe in miracles again.